Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, General DeFoor. It's very good to see you, and congratulations to you in your new role.
Thank you very much.
Wanted to talk to you a little bit about grant funding accountability, and the state, in conjunction with the federal government, has allocated billions of dollars through grants to help individuals and industries who've been most affected by the pandemic. There's a lot of money coming in and a lot of money going out, and we've seen and firsthand witnessed individuals attempting to defraud our unemployment compensation system throughout this pandemic. But I want to talk to you more really about more than just individuals, and as I said, a lot of money is on the table. What accountability and oversight do we have with these grants?
Well, thank you for your question, Senator, and it's a great question. Unfortunately, whenever we have a situation like this where the Commonwealth is going to get a lot of money from the federal government, there are people at home who are trying to do nothing but find ways to get at it when they don't have a legal entitlement. When they're not legally entitled to do it. So in my opinion, the first thing that needs to be done when you're developing the program with regards to who gets the funds, throughout that entire process, for each milestone, for each step in the process, it has to be checked. To check, one, to see, is it gonna work? And then so you check the entire process to determine if it's a process that you're always going to have some type of fraud, but is it the best type of process that we currently have? That's the first thing that has to get done. And the next thing that has to get done once the funds start going out, the same process still has to be implemented. You still have to check each step of the process to determine, is it working, and if it is actually vulnerable to fraud, waste, and abuse. Because we're in situations like this, we are never going to completely stop fraud. And in my experience, going back with the Inspector General's office and the Attorney General's office, 20% of the claims going into a governmental agency, and it could be federal government, it could be state government, are going to be fraudulent. So that is something that, with regards to whether it's the CARES Act or whether it's the Rescue Act, that's something that we have to expect. But by having the proper processes in place to determine whether or not something is fraudulent, that's we're actually ahead of where we normally would be. But we have to have those entities to do that. Now, going back in my career as the Dauphin County Controller, when we received our CARES Act funds, we had contracted with an outside accounting firm who helped us develop those processes, those checks and balances, to determine how strong our criteria was and how strong our process was in order to help not necessarily eliminate, but to deter and to mitigate fraud, waste, and abuse. So that's where you have to begin. You have to begin with the process in which you're going to be handing out the funds to the individuals who are going to be needing it.
So are you saying that we have no legal way to get money back that the taxpayers have generously provided if they were not allocated appropriately?
I mean, once the money goes out the door, and if it goes out the door by people who it's given to people who, one, are committing fraud, and given to people who had no legal reason to receive those funds, you may get some funds back, but it's going to be pennies on a dollar. The best way to deal with this is to have all the processes in place to ensure that those funds go to the proper individuals and entities that they're entitled.
Well, clearly, a lot of these processes were set up very quickly, and I think moving forward, it would be very helpful to understand how we make sure that the right processes are in place, how we give you the authority. More federal funds are being appropriated out of the state coffers to entities and individuals that have been most affected by this pandemic. There's the possibility of additional federal dollars coming, and I think that's something that we need to have a further conversation on to assure that the people who need those funds, the people who meet the criteria for receiving those funds are the ones who in fact receive them. So I would look forward to further conversation.
So, and I thank you very much, Senator.
If I could talk to you about cyber attacks. We know that if we combined all of our information technology spending, it would be the fourth largest state agency in the Commonwealth, totaling over $1 billion in state spending. And in your short time here, how are we doing as a Commonwealth to protect our assets, both physical and informational, from cyber attacks, so that we can minimize any related costs such as ransomware payments, lost productivity, lost data? Do you feel that we're currently wasting resources? Do you think we're doing it well? Are there things that we could be doing better to combat these threats?
Senator, in all due respect, that is a conversation that I would love to have with you.
Well, I will certainly, as the chairman of the Senate Communications and Technology, look forward to having that conversation. Thank you very much, General.